Hi, this is Brett Laurent. I'm going to take a few moments during the 7-minute long video to point out some details and particulars of fabrication that I used. The video pictures a patient actually getting a rigid dressing replacement. You can see the original rigid removal dressing on the floor behind him, and that was made in the hospital a number of weeks earlier. This one is being fitted in conjunction with compression therapy, so you can see we put a sheath on and then a compressor grip type shrinker, and now a 5-ply sock. Next thing we'll do is roll on that 3-ply post-op sock, which becomes the lining of the rigid dressing. Then I start with that black sticky back scored soft foam, which I had on hand and worked pretty well for this application. In general, I found that 3/8 inch thick soft foam padding, whatever type you use, seems to work pretty well. You just have to make sure that the Scotch cast will stick to it, and so that it'll stay on the sides of the rigid dressing. If you use 1/2 inch padding, or when I used 1/2 inch padding, I found that was a little bit thick and it was hard to blend in. And if you use 1/4 inch padding, it seemed like sometimes that didn't offer enough cushioning around the bony prominences. I found that cotton felt padding was a little bit too firm for this application. Some of the very soft foams worked okay, but I eventually arrived at the 3/8 inch thick acrylic felt padding, which is used in lamination, is on hand in a lot of facilities. Next thing I'm doing is fitting a distal end pad. They come in different circumferences, 3, 4, 5, 6 inch. It seems like the 4 and 5 inch seem to be the standard size that you end up using a lot of. They taper nicely, and you want them to blend into the shape of the residuum and the sock, as I mentioned in the text. The next thing, I'm applying the double back sticky back tape. And it's a little, you'll see it takes a little while to use this tape, but it's very simple to use and it doesn't have any odors. I know there are other adhesives on the market, spray adhesives and so forth, but of course you don't want to have any vapors or fumes if you're doing something like this in a facility. So the tape is kind of a safe product in that respect. And it works well. The distal end pads are soft and breathable. I think they were developed for IPOPs. They are used in a lot of prefab rigid removable dressings also. I've also used Plastizote for distal end pads, where I skive it and pre-shape it in the office and then have it in my bag when I'm at a facility. It works well. It's a little bit more firm than the distal end pads, but it does work okay. There, I'm getting ready to reflect the distal end pad on so I won't catch on that sticky back tape and create any folds or anything like that. And the next thing, I think I'm marking the trim line, which is about mid-patella and below the knee crease posteriorly. You want the patient to be able to have the device on and flex their knee. It's a fairly low-profile device. And you can see when I start doing the roll here, I probably should have done an extra layer approximately. I used the ST&G casting tape, which I've been told adheres better to shapes than some of the other tapes on the market, but I don't have experience with them. But the ST&G stuff works all right. And you can see there I probably should have wrapped one more time approximately just to offer enough material to create that half round. This worked okay, but I think I mentioned the text going around about twice, or 2.5 times maybe. And then distally I've captured the shape. It's pretty thin, but I've captured the shape, and that's all we need to do now because we have to go up and start reflecting down the edge on itself before it sets up. And there I am rolling it down just to where I see the trim line marks. And you'll note also that the fibular head pad and the patella pad are up above the trim line, which is what we want, so that when we reflect the sock back, it softens that edge even more for those bony prominences. You're free to create any different kind of modifications you have to this model as you see fit. It's really meant to be just a starting point. And maybe one of the most compelling reasons to intercept new amputees and provide them with a rigid removable dressing before they're discharged from the hospital is that this patient population suffers a high fall rate incidence, especially during early weeks after amputation. Properly fitted rigid removable dressing will protect their residuum in the event of a fall. I used to tell the PTs we can't prevent them from falling, but we can protect their residual limb. Now here we're getting ready. The rigid dressing is just about it's set up, and so we're going to reflect the sock and the foam back. That sock will be trimmed about 1.5 inches or 2 inches below the trim line, and then a new wrap will come up just underneath the rounded edge and secure it in place to make it nice and soft around that edge. And then the distal area will be reinforced with short pieces and then wrapped in with the wrap to have some uniformity to the cast. And then there I tried 2-ply, 2 single plies, and that was too much, so we took one off. And maybe a sheath will offer enough airflow to don the device. I never really tried it, but perhaps drilling a hole at the bottom would have facilitated donning in some cases. And then next there you'll see he's got the suspension sleeve, the fabric suspension sleeve, which worked quite well for this application. Also, it's a nice device to have later on. No matter what kind of prosthetic system he gets fitted with, he could use the fabric suspension sleeve as an emergency or auxiliary suspension.